All right, so I went to see Venom. It was quite an interesting movie. If you have not seen the movie, I recommend you check out the non-spoiler because this is the spoiler version of Venom. All right, so I thought it was cool that the movie starts off with a rocket ship, a space shuttle crashing down into the Earth. It sets up an origin story without Spider-Man being involved. They do acknowledge that the pilot of the shuttle was J. Jonah Jameson's son, John. Now, I don't know if it's to imply that he died. Also, at the same time, it crash landed into the woods. That could just mean anything. It could mean just the location that the evil corporation in the movie found the symbiote. Or it could have something to do with some weird off-chance possibility of John Jameson's return so he can be in a movie adaptation of Werewolf by Night. But I think that would be too smart of Sony to do that because Sony seems to be trying to do all these spin-off movies, next being Morbius. Pretty much they're trying to get away with as much Spider-Man as they can, but without Spider-Man now that Disney and Marvel took back the character. Shows all the different symbiotes being taken back to this evil corporation held by Carlton Drake. Who later becomes Riot. Because sure, why not? Let's do that. Let's make the first movie be the obscure villain. We don't want to make it a popular villain yet. We gotta save him for the sequel. Popular villain that everyone wants is Carnage. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna get him. He'll be in a sequel. And I'm sure there'll be a sequel because the movie made that much money and Sony doesn't know when to give up. So, it's not a bad movie. It's paper-thin plot. It's generic, the same plot over and over again. Corporation finds some discovery. Our hero comes across one of the symbiotes, and the corporation's after him to take back the symbiote. That's pretty much it. There is the female character, Anne, played by Michelle Williams. And as I said in the non-spoiler, I think she kind of meets the Bechdel test, where her only purpose there is to serve the male character, Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy. She's either helpful or just pissed off at Eddie Brock. This is not a thing against Michelle Williams. It's just I really don't like how some female characters are treated in movies where they're just there as either damsel or just someone complaining to the hero. And yeah, she is helpful in the film. She even takes on the symbiote to take the symbiote Venom back to Brock when he loses him. But now I think the only reason why they did that is so we can get a glimpse of She-Venom. That is a character in the comic books, She-Venom. There were weird moments though. I did like that Riot was taking over different bodies and taking up their life force until they're dead, just like a real parasite. And he kept passing himself on to like other people throughout the world. But what I don't understand is he attached himself to this Asian old lady. It shows 6 months later and he's still attached to her until he ends up attaching himself to a little girl. Now, if we're to assume that it doesn't take long for him to take up someone's life and kill it, then that Asian woman must have been really strong because 6 months and she was still a whole person. The CGI in the film in the fight scenes between Venom and Riot, or just Venom in general, was beautiful. I think they've kind of reached the right amount of CGI. Much better looking than Spider-Man 3. That's a low bar, but it's still a compliment. I loved Tom Hardy in the film. His Brooklyn accent sounded a little Boston, but whatever. They did say the F word because PG-13 and X-Men movies said the F word once or twice, so let's go ahead and push that PG-13 rating without it becoming R. There's really not much to say. I did love the Eddie Brock Venom relationship. It's wrong, it's not how it is in the comic books, but the whole entire movie is not like the comic book. book. It's its own thing. It takes place in San Francisco, not even New York. They tried their very best to stay away from Spider-Man as they could. The action scenes were pretty good, but boom, explosions, people being fought off, whatever. There were a lot of human casualties in the film. And I noticed, though, the Eddie Brock-Venom relationship was very similar to Little Shop of Horrors, whichever version of that movie you want to compare it to. I mean, Little Shop of Horrors, as I mentioned in my non-spoiler, you have this meager guy named Seymour who comes across a parasitic plant that wants to take over. He starts telling Seymour to feed him. It needs blood, talking Seymour into going out and killing people and feeding him their remains. And that's kind of the same relationship with Venom and Eddie Brock. The DNA between the two of them match up well, where he can live off of Eddie Brock without killing him, but at the same time it's still whispering bad ideas into him to kill, to feed him. And at the end they kind of have this like mutual relationship that's like a friendship. It's just weird when you see a villain be reduced to a likable goof that's just fallen into certain circumstances. But if you don't like the movie, you'll like the Venom Eddie Brock relationship. And that's pretty much the best thing I can say for it. That's why I would call it a good bad movie. Good enough for me to buy. The great fight scene in the end where it takes place around rocket ship, showing the fact that Venom cannot handle fire or vibrations, especially vibrations like sound or anything like that. So the final fight scene between Riot and Venom actually works that way. And in the fight you see the vibrations going on, you see the symbiotes being shaken off of Eddie Brock and the evil CEO Carlton Drake. And I did like how the final battle was laid out. Explosion, destruction of the space shuttle because he was trying to go into space and bring upon more symbiotes to conquer the world. But yeah, there wasn't really much to say about this movie. It's just there. It's not bad. It's good in a bad way. That's just it. It's really just a filler so they can have a sequel with Carnage. The mid-credit scene where it shows Eddie Brock doing an interview report with Cletus Cassidy is predictable. It's just one of those random last-minute second movie villains popping up. Hey, I'm here. I'm the bad guy. Keep an eye out for me. Now, here's the headache. Apparently, Carnage is going to be played by Woody Harrelson. I don't dislike Woody Harrelson. It's just, did he really cast him because he's Southern? He has a Southern accent. Is that what it was? And he might actually be a good Carnage. I can't tell by that one particular scene. It's just, there were other people that were trying to play Carnage. They worked real hard to push themselves to be Carnage. Like the boy who plays Ian on Shameless or Joker in Gotham. He's a redhead, and I could have actually seen him play a very good Carnage. But Woody Harrelson, I don't know. I just kind of feel like maybe out of place or kind of forced. Didn't help that they gave him a really stupid wig too. But the director hired Woody Harrelson because they worked together on Zombieland. So there you go. Whatever. So that's Hollywood for you. If you work together, you'll be brought on to something else if you got along. I did not need to stick for the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene had nothing to do with the movie, and it just was a clip from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I want to see the movie, but I did not want to see a long clip of it. I feel like it gave away too much. Not really too much, just it gave a huge chunk away, and I wanted to have been surprised, you know? But yeah, that's my thoughts of Venom. Now, it has been a long summer. I haven't had the chance to really review anything else I have seen, but a lot of it's because I haven't seen much. Thank you, Movie Pass, you suck. I kissed your ass months ago, and because the CEO does not know how to run a business, the movie passes really mean nothing. They only work for certain movies in certain theaters at certain times. And they're very inconvenient times. All the movies I did see this summer actually came straight out of my pocket. But I'm gonna go over quickly the movies that I did see. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Pointless action movie. They took away the awe and wonder of the dinosaurs and just gave us action. Maybe we've reached that point of these movies where, that's all we can take. But nowadays, Jurassic World either just serves as nostalgia purposes, trying to bring back past characters. For example, Malcolm, who was in the first and second Jurassic Park movie, he's in this movie, but unfortunately, he's just in the beginning and at the end. He's pretty much the bookends of the film. The only touching scene that I felt in the whole movie was when you see someone's gonna correct me on the dinosaur, and I'm sorry I don't know my dinosaurs beyond the first grade. When you see the Brontosaurus left behind on the island being consumed by the fire and the ash, it's really sad and pathetic. And the little girl that turns out to be Park Dinosaur clone. No. What is it with Jurassic Park movies or Jurassic World movies that give us these children that are the most annoying pain in the ass to watch? Stop it. We don't need kids in the movies, please. If you're going to have to put kids in your movies, let them act pretty well. They need to actually not be annoying and let them be good actors. Is that too much to ask? Some cutesy movies that I saw and because I was dragged to these, and I'm glad I was dragged to them. One was actually Dog Days. I don't like compilation films that have different actors and different lives, and at the end they interact somehow. And I'm not a fan of cutesy animal movies that much either. But this movie, the saving grace was that the characters were played by hilarious comedians, and it was more of them than the dogs, actually. The dogs were just kind of a reason to have them interact. It was still a pretty entertaining movie. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would buy it on Blu-ray, but no, it's fun. I will buy Crazy Rich Asians. That is a hilarious movie. I don't know too much of the culture, so they may be right about it or they may be wrong about it. But I enjoyed myself. It's sort of kind of like a Cinderella story, I guess. The lead actress, I feel so bad for not knowing her name, but I want to see her in more movies. She is that great and very likable. Even when they were speaking in their native language, so give me, I don't know the actual dialect. It's Chinese or Cantonese or even Mandarin. I'm not really sure. I'm sorry. But they would speak that, and that was fine. The theater I went to actually had characters on the bottom of the screen, and that's understandable for anyone that needs to understand the film. I'm fine with that. The only problem with that is when they spoke in their native tongue, it had English subtitles, but they were blocked by the characters, so I couldn't even read them. So that might be a little problematic, but I still understood the movie just fine. And I was able to kind of read the English subtitles through the characters as best as I could. So everything worked out fine. The movie was great. Yes, I recommend it. But one movie I hate, I detest, I despise so much. So mad at myself I actually paid full price. I'm so mad because I was actually looking forward to it, was Slender Man. That movie was garbage. It really was. I didn't know really what to expect. I just knew Slender Man exists because the internet. He's one of those internet mythology monsters. And it doesn't go into a history of him. He's there. 4 stupid, idiotic girls, bad actresses with worst dialogue, all get together and on a dare summon Slender Man. And that's pretty much it. There's a moment in the film where they have to sacrifice the thing they care about to get Slender Man off their back, and they have to keep their eyes closed too in order to have him take those things and disappear. But of course, one girl is the idiot that opens her eyes because she's scared. But I don't think it was going to work anyways, because the things that the girls were trying to sacrifice were not anything real personal. I don't think so. Like one girl that she was going to sacrifice a picture or a trophy. Like one girl had a picture, another girl had a trophy. They're personal, but they're not the nearest, dearest thing to their heart. I could think of many things they could have sacrificed, but those things are kind of shallow, and I don't think Slender Man was going to go for that anyways. Movie sucks. Don't watch it. In fact, if a friend tells you, let's watch the movie, stop being friends with that person. It's just awful. Awful. but that is awful enough where I can see Anthonyx riffing on it at some point. Yeah, so those are some of the movies I can think of, and I'm sure there'll be more that I can think of that after I've finished uploading this video. And don't worry, I'll just kick myself for it later. But yeah, Venom, enjoyable for the most part. Paper thin plot, but if that's the best Sony can give, then alright, cool. I've seen worse movies. People do compare Venom to Catwoman, and in some ways, yes, I can see that. Where if you want to talk about a standalone film about a villain that's like a spin-off about like a shy, quiet person that becomes something completely different, then yeah, okay, sure, it's like Catwoman. There is a scene where it has a loud rocker neighbor that won't turn down the music until he is confronted by the hero. So yeah, okay, I can see the similarities between Venom and Catwoman, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. It's definitely not as bad as Catwoman. In fact, it's a fine movie, Venom. Venom, very fine. That's all I have to say. Sorry I don't have more. I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm a New Yorker. This is the life I live. See you soon.